Every driver who's been out here more than a year knows the feeling of pulling into a truck stop at 2 in the morning and seeing a familiar company logo on the truck parked next to yours. You know the name. You've seen it on trailers in every state, on every highway. This channel has a series about trucking companies that have collapsed. We call it the Fallen Giants list. Every company on that list started the same way. One person, one truck, and a debt. The difference is what happened next. Tonight, 8 American trucking empires that started with almost nothing. One truck, one route, and one founder who made one decision that changed everything. We're counting them down from the smallest to the largest, and every single one of these names is still on the road today. These aren't corporate histories written by a marketing department. Every origin story here comes from the company's own records or the news sources that covered trucking at the time. Our videos about freight crime and police reports get their numbers from other sources, but tonight's numbers come from Transport Topics 2024 Top 100 for Hire Carriers list. This is where these companies actually stand right now. And the last company on this list didn't even start as a trucking company. It began as a money-losing side business that had nothing to do with freight. That side business later became one of the largest transportation names in North America. Nobody saw it coming. You'll have to wait for number 1 to hear how it happened. One more thing. 3 of these 8 companies all started in the same small town in Utah. Let's get into it. Number 8, C.R. England, the oldest on the list. Founded in 1920 by Chester Rodney England, hauling milk and farm products around Utah. 100 years later, it's still private, still run by the same family. It survived the Depression, World War II, and the 1980 federal deregulation, when the government stopped controlling routes and prices. That deregulation destroyed hundreds of carriers. One big reason, a satellite monitoring bet in the 1980s, back when most carriers had never heard of the thing. Real-time truck location gave them routing efficiency nobody else had. But the detail I remember is Gene England, the founder's son. He started hauling loads for the company at 14. He kept driving commercially until he was 90 and died at 105 years old in the 2024. He was still climbing behind the wheel long after most men his age had stopped. C.R. England is number 42 nationally, about $1 billion in revenue, nearly 4,000 tractors, the truck units that pull the trailers. 4 generations, 100+ years, never sold the company or went public. It just kept hauling. Number 7, Robert E. Lowe started Prime Incorporated out of Springfield, Missouri in 1970 at age 19, with one truck running between small Missouri towns. In 1992, Prime spent $4.3 million on Qualcomm satellite tracking equipment, a genuine gamble at the time. It led to better routing and faster dispatch. Today, Prime sits at number 20 nationally, $2.5 billion in revenue, over 8,000 tractors. Still privately held, and Robert Lowe is still running the company. One guy who started at 19 and never let go. Number 6, Knight Transportation. It was founded in 1990 by 4 cousins, Kevin and Keith Knight, and Randy and Gary Knight. They started with just a few trucks, hauling between Phoenix and Los Angeles. All 4 founders had previously worked at Swift Transportation, another Utah trucking company started by Jerry Moyes. After Randy was bought out as part owner, they left to build a competitor. They grew fast, went public in 1994. That was a fast rise. In 2017, Knight merged with Swift in a $5 billion deal, forming Knight Swift. The 4 cousins who left Swift to build a competitor had, 27 years later, made their old employer part of their own company. And both sides of that merger trace back to Plain City, Utah. Which founder would you rather drive for? The one who, as you'll see, sold his own car for a truck, or the one who started at 19 and never sold out? Drop it in the comments. That's how I'll know who actually made it this far into the video. If you'd rather hear about the builders than the ones who lost their empires, hit subscribe, because unlike a lot of the companies on our other lists, we're here to stay. Number 5, Werner Enterprises, out of Omaha. In 1956, Clarence L. Werner sold his family's car to buy a gasoline-powered Ford truck and started hauling freight from his home. The move that pushed Werner past $1 billion in revenue was expanding into Mexico. They became the largest carrier serving that cross-border lane. Remember this, C.L. Werner kept his commercial driver's license his whole career. After the company went public, after it hit $1 billion in revenue, he still got back behind the wheel himself. Werner is number 16 nationally, $3.2 billion in revenue, over 8,000 tractors. One car, traded for one truck, is still the reason a Nebraska company runs freight across 2 borders. And the founder never really stopped being a driver first. Number 4. Carl Moyes, the man who started what became Swift Transportation, once drove for C.R. England. In the late 1950s, he and his wife Betty started B&C truck leasing in Plain City, Utah. After their son Jerry graduated, the family relocated to Phoenix. They formed Common Market, hauling imported steel from Los Angeles ports to Phoenix and returning with Arizona cotton. They bought the Swift name and grew. By 2009, Swift was the largest trucking company in the U.S. Over $2.5 billion in revenue. Then came the 2017 merger with Knight, and Swift was no longer an independent company. But the connection that hits hardest, Jerry Moyes later personally owned Central Freight Lines, the 96-year-old Waco carrier that shut down in 2021. The man who built the largest trucking company also owned, and lost, one of the fallen giants. That's 3 companies so far from one tiny Utah town. Number 3. Al Schneider sold the family car for a truck in 1935 in Green Bay, Wisconsin. His son Don took over in 1976, steering the company through deregulation, that same rule change that freed up routes and prices, and international scale. They stayed private and family-run for 82 years before going public on the New York Stock Exchange in 2017. But the human detail, Al Schneider was a huge Green Bay Packers fan. He volunteered on the 1942 season ticket drive, chaired the committee that greeted the team after its 1965 championship, and managed the Packers Hall of Fame. A local businessman who spent as much energy on his hometown football team as on his trucks, and built a company whose orange trailers you see on every interstate. Schneider is number 9 nationally, $5.5 billion in revenue, over 10,000 tractors. From one traded-in family car to a fleet running $5.5 billion a year. Number 2, Old Dominion Freight Line, founded in 1934 by Earl and Lillian Congdon with a single straight truck. That is, a truck that's all one piece, not a tractor-trailer, between Richmond and Norfolk. Earl drove, Lillian ran the business from home, and drove when needed. After Earl died, Lillian became president and their sons joined her. The turning point came in 1960, when a union strike hit after an acquisition. Earl Congdon Jr. personally climbed behind the wheel of the company's first truck and drove past the striking workers. He brought the drivers together to keep the operation running, and the company stayed non-union. That independence, combined with deregulation-era expansion, turned a regional LTL carrier into a national network. This LTL, meaning it hauls smaller shipments that don't fill a full trailer, grew nationwide. Old Dominion is number 8 nationally, nearly $6 billion in revenue, over 10,000 tractors. 3 generations of the same family still running the company, 90 years after one straight truck. Number 1. Johnny Bryan Hunt left school after 7th grade, worked in a sawmill, and married John L. in 1952. In 1961, the couple started selling leftover rice hulls from Arkansas mills as chicken coop bedding and lost $19,000 on it. In 1969, almost as an afterthought, Hunt bought a 5-tractor, 7-refrigerated trailer trucking operation just to haul his own product cheaper than paying an outside carrier. That side business went public in 1983 and grew into the 3rd largest trucking firm in the U.S. But the decision that changed freight movement in North America came in 1989. Hunt partnered with the Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe Railway to run dedicated intermodal service, trucks and trains working together instead of competing. By 2004, Intermodal was nearly 40% of revenue and half of profit. One handshake with a railroad turned a regional carrier into the largest intermodal provider in the country. J.B. Hunt is number 3 nationally. It has nearly $13 billion in revenue, about 35,000 employees, 23,000 tractors, and a combined trailer and container fleet of roughly 145,000 units. Hunt died in 2006 from complications after a fall on the ice. May he rest in peace. A rice hull business that was losing money became a 5-truck side operation, and that side operation ended up co-inventing the way this whole country still moves freight. Every founder on this list started as a driver, and some never stopped being one. Gene England climbing into a cab at 90. C.L. Werner keeping his license his whole life. J.B. Hunt leaving school at 12 and driving before he ever owned a truck. These are people who built empires without forgetting what the job actually is. Did you ever drive for one of these? Or for a company they later bought out? Tell us which one and what it was actually like on the inside. We read every single comment, and the best ones become the next video. And if you'd rather hear about the builders than the ones who went out of business, hit subscribe, because this channel's still just getting started. Drive safe.